Before this morning's Spooky Spice latte, I would like to point out that at a point in this podcast, you'll hear a really loud squeaking noise. I only found it after going back in editing, and I don't know what made the noise. It wasn't my voice. It wasn't a voice crack. There's nothing in my room that makes this noise. I've tested everything. Even the chair next to me just kind of makes a... It doesn't make that noise. It's not repeatable. So I'm going to leave it in there. I'll amplify it a little bit. Otherwise, there is no editing done to it. And enjoy the rest of the podcast. Good morning, and welcome to episode 5 of SpookySpice's Morning Latte. This time, I decided to talk about something a little bit different. It isn't gaming related. Put down a pitchfork. It's going to be okay. I'll lead us to the promised land. I wanted to talk about ghosts. And the reason I want to talk about ghosts is, well, I mean, it's really popular to talk about. You see it on YouTube, TV, things like that. But they fascinate me. And not ghosts like, I'm not talking Nightmare on Elm Street. I'm not talking, horrific. Well, I mean, I will be, but I'm talking like just the generality of it. Just how incredible of a phenomena it is. Paranormal, I mean. Say what you will about, YouTube videos, how some are fake, some aren't. But the ones that are real, that you can't really dispute just by looking at it, they're incredible. I mean, one recently that I saw it seemed just so genuine, was one of a guy who was in his room, and he was actually streaming, ironically. But he was streaming and he was in his room, and his stream sees behind him his door start to move and blah, 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 blah. And you would think by looking at it that it was, somebody was shutting a door on him and just trying to scare his stream. But he gets, genuinely afraid, and you can see it in his eyes. And the lights start to flicker, very dramatically and stuff. But what gets me about it, and what makes me believe it, this one in particular, he gets so afraid, like I said, but there's just something about it that feels so authentic. And what I mean by this is, if you watch it, and I'll try to find the link, and I'll put it in my community's Discord, but you can see him looking around as if you've ever been alone in a room late at night, or even really early in the morning, you'll have had those moments of you look around you. You know you're alone, you're in your room, but you look around yourself anyway just to make sure you're okay. And you can tell this guy did not feel safe. And when doors start to shut and lights start to flicker and he hears things, and his stream's starting to hear things too. And he doesn't have a green screen, he doesn't have a crazy setup. It was basically, he was looking at a screen, and behind him, basically 5 feet over each shoulder, but further back in his room, were 2 separate doorways. One probably leading to a bedroom, one probably to the kitchen. So this leads me to what connects me to the paranormal and to ghosts. I actually was very skeptical for a really long time. I grew up an only child for a long time, and I never had a single experience. From the time I can first memory I have up until, I don't know, I'd say around 13, 14. There was things I was afraid of, spiders, people in masks, things like that. But I never had a fear that there was going to be a ghost that was going to jump out from the corner and throw me across the room. When I moved to Florida, where I went to high school, with my mother, we moved into a house that was considered historic in a little village. And it was an older house. It was essentially a well-known man's house from the community from a days past. And he built the home for a woman he loved. It was pink. It had a lot of Spanish heritage in the style of the building, which you could see clearly. And the story behind it was he wanted to build a house for his beloved, and he built it, and she was obsessed with it, and everything's tiny, and the upstairs master bedroom, the tub is little, and the room is little, and there's a tiny balcony, all made for a tiny woman. And Unfortunately, the man that built this house died on his boat in the river that's maybe 100 yards from the house. There's a plaque in front of the house where you can read this story. When we moved in, I didn't think anything of it. I mean, I thought it was cool that it had a story. It was a nice house, but I never really had any thoughts about it. The first day I moved in, a family member of mine was walking up the stairs, and she got pushed down. And now, granted, this is a clumsy family member. I mean, I'm talking, one of those that sits down on a rolling chair and she might fall backwards, but she got kind of spooked by the whole thing. I mean, punny, Spooky Spice, I know. But she got kind of spooked by the whole thing. And she fell down. If I remember correctly, I didn't actually see it myself, so I can't speak to that much, but she's not the type to lie about this sort of thing. But the way that she fell down was, essentially, the stairs were just a straight shot up. Wooden stairs, really old, very creaky. And she went to walk up, and she got pushed down to where, essentially, the bottom of her wrist, like just underneath her palm, hit the stair. Her head just kept barely from hitting the step. And she got really freaked out, and she, told everybody, and we all kind of laughed at her. My first thing that I noticed that was kind of weird about the house. Yeah, stairs creak. I mean, the floor I have in the room I'm recording this in creaks. That's not a big deal. When you would walk up the same stairs that I just referred to about how my family member had fallen, when you walked up the steps, they would creak 2 steps behind you. It wouldn't creak on the step. It's hard to explain this, but imagine a flight of, we'll say, 15 stairs. When you put your foot down on the 3rd step, the 1st step would creak. Same thing with when you hit the 5th, the 3rd would creak. It was consistent. You could repeat this. It wasn't a random thing. And they weren't in different spots. It was the same exact sound every time you did this sequence of steps. That was the first thing. And I didn't even think it was weird in the sense of, oh, there's a ghost in my house. I thought it was weird in the sense that that's just odd. Why wouldn't the creaks be in different spots? Why would they have a pattern? Why would they be on the same steps? Why couldn't I make something different happen with these creaks? And a lot of the house, even for how old it was, it didn't creak. The kitchen floors didn't creak. The living room floors didn't creak. My bedroom was just in front of those stairs, and none of the wood in my room or right outside my door creaked. Which doesn't make any logical sense to me. The next thing this is one of the first things that really kind of freaked me out. I was alone. My mom was at work, and I'd gotten home from school. And I was just in my room, just playing games. And I heard... The best way I can describe what I heard, without trying to sound over-dramatic. If you've ever heard a child playing with pots and pans with wooden spoons and some Tupperware, that's what it sounded like. But it was coming from upstairs in my mother's room. And it wouldn't stop. It didn't stop at all. And it kind of freaked me out, but at the same time, I just, whatever. Who cares? Put my headphones on and listen to music. And then it kept going for weeks. And finally, I started to open up to, okay, what the heck is this? So one day, just for the fun of it, there was really no ulterior motive behind this. To this day, I can't tell you what made me say this. I heard the upstairs from the pots and the pans. And I yelled, "Hey, stop!" And it stopped. It was the first time where I was alone, and that sound was not happening. So I thought, it's a coincidence, whatever, and I went about my day. And it started again a couple hours later. This was probably, I don't know, like 6:30, and my mother wasn't expected to be home for another hour and a half or so. So I yelled again, "Stop!" And again it stopped. And this was one of the freakiest things that I had dealt with. It might not sound like a lot, but you have to put your mind in, you have to step foot in my shoes, into the mind of a 15-year-old skeptic. I don't believe in this stuff. I mean, I want to. I think it's cool. I think it's scary. I don't watch horror movies for that reason, but I don't believe in it. And now I'm hearing it, and I can tell it to stop. And mind you, this was 2 weeks, maybe more, since I had first heard this sound, and it had not stopped when I was alone until I yelled at it. If you can find a scientific explanation for that, please tell me, but I can't. Staying on this house, before I get to my most horrifying experience with it, the next freaky thing that happened was I was turning 16, and I had some friends over for my party. Nothing crazy. It wasn't very popular. That isn't a woe is me. I was very happy being unpopular. I don't like people that much. But I had, let's see, there was about 5 people. 1 girl, and the rest guys. And myself. In my room, there was 2 beds. It was a bigger room. As I said before, this is a historic home. And there was only 2 bedrooms in the entire house. Mine was downstairs. And upstairs was technically the master, but they were both master size. There was 2 beds, and there was a kind of like a lazy boy chair, but instead of flipping up, there was just a footrest to it. I was sitting on my bed with one of my friends, and on the other bed there was 2, and there was 3, excuse me, and in the chair, the lazy boy, there was 1. And on my headboard, I had a lot of, I'm just gonna say crap, that's what it was. But I had this pair of drumsticks just sitting there. And we're all talking, we're just messing around before we all walked to where we were going to go for my party. And a drumstick flew across the room. And it hit the one girl. And we all looked around like, oh, who did it? That was a real, I don't have my bleeps for this one, but that was a real bleep thing to do. And everybody was being really sincere. And no, I didn't do that. And she was mad, and I was kind of annoyed. But we all saw it fly. We knew no one threw it. We were just trying to find a reason it happened. But we saw it. All of us, with our own eyes, it flew across the room and hit her in the head. That was one of the first times I'd ever seen something like that with my own eyes, not just by sound. And I'm going to be real honest with you. If I didn't have my friends around me, I think I would have passed out. That was a new kind of horrifying. But now we get into my most horrifying experience in this house. I'm going to put a disclaimer right here that if you don't believe me when I say this, that's completely fine. I understand that this sounds a little bit ridiculous. I just ask that you listen with an open mind. I have no reason to make this sound real as if it wasn't. I gain nothing from telling a lie, acting as if it was true. So, I was in my room, and I was going to be alone for the whole day, and it was during a break. I don't remember if it was summer or spring break or what. And I heard the sounds, and I told them to stop, and this time they wouldn't. This is well after I've already accepted I can make these sounds stop. And they're not stopping. And I'm trying to play a game and just mind my own business. I wasn't in the best mood, and they just wouldn't stop. So finally I got angry, and I said, okay, I'm going to go upstairs. So I go upstairs, and the stairs don't creak. If you remember, I said the stairs had a pattern that was repeated and could not be ignored or skipped or recreated in a different way. But they didn't creak. And I didn't walk soft. Like I said, I was angry. So I go up the stairs and nothing creaks, and I don't even think about it until after the fact. And I open my mom's bedroom door. If you remember my description of this room, it's a master bedroom similar to the one that's downstairs. When you open the door to your right, there's a big balcony with 2, I believe the name is French doors. I could be wrong. But with 2 French doors. And then straight forward is a wall. Down that wall is another balcony, a tiny one, Same thing with one French door. To the left of that French door is a closet, a walk-in closet. Down that wall that closet's on, there's a tiny little bathroom. And if you take a left past that wall is the wall her bed was on, which leads to the door that enters the bedroom. I walk in, and all the doors were shut. The closet door, the bathroom door, the French doors, everything. Everything shut. And I'm hearing sounds. I open the closet, and kaboom, there it goes. And I'm kidding. I open the closet, and there's nothing there. And the sound stopped. And I think, whatever. I shut the closet door. And I turn around, and the bathroom door is open. And if you remember, I said that everything in this house did not creak that loudly, except for stuff upstairs. And, I mean, I honestly did not go in her room very often, but I can tell you that door would have made some kind of noise. I didn't hear a noise. And it kind of freaked me out that it opened, but it didn't open out, it opened into the bathroom. So I, took a peek and I didn't see anything. So I kind of, as you recall, I said there is a wall leading from this closet to the bathroom. I walked along the wall to the bathroom and shut the door. As I'm going to walk out of her room, the closet door opens and I hear it. I turn around and the closet door didn't open, it was shut. So now I'm just kind of confused, and I hear something in the bathroom, and I did the, ridiculous thing people do in horror movies when they open a door even though the audience is screaming at them not to, which I'm sure you're screaming at 16-year-old me, telling him, "Don't open the door!" I opened the door. And I wasn't a scout, but in Scout's honor, I saw a full-figured man, face, features, everything, staring down at me. And I screamed, and I fell backward. I ran, tripping down the stairs, slammed her bedroom door shut, and got out of my house. I didn't have my phone because I left it inside because, like I said, I ran on the rush. And eventually, my mom got home, and we went inside, and there was nothing. Now, the logical explanation behind this could be, yeah, there was someone in my house, but my question to you, and obviously you can't answer me, but how would it be a man in my house if the doors were shut, the door was open, it was shut again, I opened it myself and saw someone? I didn't hear anything. I was in my room the whole day. And like I said, the entrance to those stairs was right outside my bedroom door, which was open. So I didn't see anyone. I didn't hear, I had a dog. I had a pit bull that barked at anything. Did not bark, even when I ran out of the house. And you can answer those questions, but I know what I saw, and that was one of the most horrifying experiences of my life. And ever since that day, I believe 100%. I can't deny that. Just for a little bit of added, I'll say believability, but I use that term loosely because I don't feel like I need to prove this story. There was in the backyard, we had a camera system that looked like it was a part of a tree attached to the tree. And it took photos every time it sensed motion. It was a motion camera. I wasn't very open with the story. I was kind of, even when my mom got home, I made up some, BS excuse as to why I was out there. I forget what I said. I said I was, waiting for a friend, and they stood me up or something. I don't remember. So we go inside, and we didn't see it, blah, blah, blah. Not too long after that, I kind of just made up a reason. Hey, let's see if there was any animals in the backyard. And the camera hadn't taken anything that wasn't owls and birds. And there was only two ways in and out of my house. The door that I ran out of and was watching all day, and the back door that would have had a picture taken. And the fact that I'm still here, my mom is still here, means it wasn't a person. So, take from that story what you will. But that's why I believe in it. And I think that's why I will always believe in it. But not all of the stories like that are bad. I have one good story with it. And it's a really private story to me. I honestly can't think of anyone I've told this story. I had a family member pass away that was really close to me. And I'm not saying that, there was a reason I saw this person over others, but there was a time where I was just thinking, like, don't people say that, their family members show up as animals or as bugs or, certain butterflies or whatever could be their family? I hadn't seen anything like that. And I've had quite a few family members pass away. So I was just sitting there and I was thinking, well, if you're around and you're watching me, show me. And I didn't see anything. My eyes were closed, granted. But I felt this rush of anxiety and, consumption, as if somebody was not hurting me, but, inches away from me, looking at me. And it was this weird feeling of fear, but safety, and it sounds scary, but you have to understand that I wanted to see something here because I wanted to know that there was somebody watching over me, and I got that. So let's talk about sleep paralysis. I am not an expert on this, and I have no knowledge to give you. I'm not going to quote studies, anything like that. I've experienced it twice in my life. When I was a kid, I had a dream. Well, I guess you could call it a dream. I'm not entirely sure if sleep paralysis is considered dreaming. Let me know on that one. But I had this dream where I had dreamt that my dad was a archaeologist, and he brought me a sarcophagus, and it was in my room. Don't ask me why he would put a sarcophagus in my room. I guess my dream dad's a little bit of a psycho. But he puts this sarcophagus in my room, and I think it's cool. Like, oh, I'm so cool, I got a mummy in my room. I bet little Jimmy down the street got, a soccer ball in his. And in this dream, I dreamt that all of a sudden it came alive and was staring at me and wouldn't let me move. And I was trying to scream and trying to scream and trying to scream and trying to scream, and I couldn't scream. And I woke up, and it was gone. And I wanted to scream because I was a kid. I think I was 6 or 7. It was in a house I barely remember, if that tells you anything. But I was trying to scream. I'm trying to scream for my mom and my dad to come get me. And I can't even make a sound. And I'm trying to shake and get out of my bed, but I can't even move. And I don't know how long it took me to get out of that state, but, clearly I did, because I can make mediocre podcasts now, but I don't know. I didn't even know what it was. Like I said, I was 6 or 7. I was playing Game Boy. I didn't know what the heck was happening to me. The most recent, I've only had 2 in my whole life happen. The most recent thing I have with sleep paralysis was not even being farce. It was just a few weeks ago. I'd had this dream. I barely remember details, but it involved a shadow that kept following me. And towards the end of my dream, it started strangling me and choking me and holding me down. And I woke up, but I couldn't breathe, and I was freaking out and sweating, and my anxieties were going crazy. I really don't know what was happening. And as I've made clear, I do believe in paranormal, and I don't want to think that that's what it was, because I haven't been that afraid of something in a long time, but it was forceful. But just to avoid ending part 1, that's right, there's going to be a second part, because I think we could have some fun if we bring in Victoria and we talk to her about some of her ghosts. But just to avoid ending on a bad note, I would like to end this with a thank you to our sponsor, Into the AM, for sending me a really great hoodie that I actually wore during this. And it, kept the monsters away, kept me warm, and kept me stylish while doing it. Head on over to Into the AM and use my code SpookySpice for 10% off. I'd also like to thank our supporters for this month. Thought Caesar, Moscro, Dead Girl Walkin', and Muddy Shoulders for all your support over on Twitch. That gives me the ability to record things like this in my spare time and put actual effort into them using decent equipment. And thank you for listening. I would say thank you for sharing your Spooky Spice latte with me, but I've been way too afraid to take a sip of my latte, even with it being as spooky as it is. So come back and join us for the next one. It might come out sooner than you think. Go ahead and check out my streams on twitch.tv/SpookySpice. Check me out on YouTube at SpookySpice, and all the other social medias will be down below. And thanks for listening. I'll see you next time.